It's 1934 and the Securities Exchange Act has just been passed. It establishes the SEC in order to, among other things, prevent the manipulation of financial markets. Now there will be no more opportunities to corner a market, at least in stocks and in America, which is a shame because it's one of the more exciting plots in finance. Listen, it's 1920 and Alan Aloysius Ryan does not like the fact that shorts have descended onto Stutz Motor Car Company, a business which he holds a controlling interest in. One day, he wakes up and chooses violence. His weapon of choice is a near-perfect corner in shares of Stutz. Stutz Motor Car Company was known for making a high-end roadster called the Bearcat. It cost $2,000, while the more pragmatic Model T sold for just $500. The luxury vehicle did well in post-World War I era as the American economy was strong, but as the 1920s approached, the Dow Jones Index began a precipitous decline. Short sellers, recognizing that the economy was headed south, decided that it was time to begin shorting Stutz. Who was going to make a luxurious purchase when times get tough? Surely, Stutz would fall. And at first it did, peaking in October of 1919 at a price of $144, shares sagged back down around $100 a few months later. A precipitous fall, but Stutz had traded around $40 for most of 1917 and 1918. There appeared to be a long way to go. Our protagonist had other ideas, though. Alan Ryan, son of Thomas Ryan, who died one of the richest men in the world and, thanks to his father's connections, friend of Charles Schwab, the original, not the business, had a reputation as a major market bull who took pleasure from squeezing short sellers. He decided to defend Stutz' share price, buying into the weakness caused by the short sellers and taking out significant loans to continue to do so as the pressure built. At some point in the spring of 1920, the tide shifted, thanks to either the smarter shorts covering or Ryan's relentless purchases. Stutz shares rallied ferociously while the market melted down all around it. This illogical strength amongst weakness was an irresistible trap for some. They knew Stutz would fall and now increased their bets accordingly. In March, they found out that they had made a terrible mistake. Share prices rose towards $400, and what was worse, daily volume had nearly disappeared. They were cornered. Ryan owned nearly all of the outstanding shares in Stutz. If you watched my video on Martin Shkreli and Callow Bios, what happened next might sound familiar. Ryan announced that he would stop lending out his shares to short sellers. This meant anyone who had sold shares based on shares they had borrowed from him would need to buy those shares from somewhere to make him whole. Suddenly, the market embodied a paradox. The speculators were legally obligated to provide shares to Ryan, but Ryan held all the shares. He had constructed an infinity squeeze. He announced that he'd be demanding $750 or maybe even $1,000 per share. However, like his brothers and sisters in GameStop and AMC 100 years later, he may have overlooked the fact that the rules of the game were not fixed. The governors of the New York Stock Exchange suspended all trading in Stutz stock, then announced that they would not treat failure to deliver his shares as a breach of contract. These were unprecedented actions, but as the NYSE spokesman explained, the exchange can do anything. Why would they do this? Because amongst the governors were some of the shorts. Fortunately, Ryan was able to wage a public relations war against the NYSE over this conflict of interest, getting them to back down from the announcement that short sellers could just walk away from their positions. Instead, there would have to be a settlement between the sides. Despite all of the money at stake, the method of determining price was as unsophisticated as one could imagine. The representative of the short sellers asked everyone to write on a piece of paper what they thought was a fair price and then just took the average. An offer of $550 per share was made, which Ryan accepted. He profited $1.5 million in 2020 on the deal, which sounds great except for one little issue. The US economy was entering a depression, Stutz was wildly overvalued, and all of those loans Ryan had taken out to defend Stutz' share price needed to be repaid. The only way he could get the funds to repay them, though, was by offloading his Stutz position. And so, just as spectacularly as the price in shares had risen, it began to fall. In the summer of 1922, Ryan declared bankruptcy, with his remaining holdings of Stutz sold at auction for $20 per share to his buddy Charles Schwab. Throughout the Roaring '20s, Stutz maintained its reputation as a high-performance luxury vehicle, with finishes at 24 hours at Le Mans that wouldn't be matched by other American car companies for nearly 40 years. However, sales never matched the accolades, and the Great Depression further damaged the company. Finally, in 1938, after a humiliating pivot towards grocery delivery vans, Stutz followed Ryan and declared bankruptcy. Thanks for watching, guys.